For all those guys who like to call themselves as perfectionist might be seeing all those movies with a bare eye. They might be seeing that, hey, why this guy is not auto layouting the things? Things are just not that much perfect, and we want the things or the apps to be much more precise and perfect. So here's the movie for all of those guys. So what we want to focus on this movie is an auto layout feature with the constraints. Now, when I talk about these constraints, first I need to get back this guy from the bottom, and I need to talk about a few things like when we have a view. Notice this is in a hierarchical view, and I have got some other views as well, like there is a top layout guide, which is an interface guide for me, that what could be the top view for that. Okay, one thing good. And after that, there inside the view, I have got a few buttons, a couple of them are there, and then I have got a label and all of that. Now what I have done before starting this movie is I have created a project and I have just laid a couple of labels. I'll show you what are those. A couple of buttons at top left, right, bottom left and right as well. After that I chose a label, a single one. I have dragged across all the screen all the way long. After that again I chose a label, made it a little bit longer and this label a little bit longer as well. After that, I chose a text view, not the text field, the text view, and I have dragged and dropped onto my screen, and this is the text view, the entire one, and I have expanded it this much. Okay, now what I wanted to talk about in this movie is about the view constraint, how you make sure that your app looks good, and how is the square interface make sure that it is good for all the views like portrait and the landscape. So let's talk about first of all this guy out there, this button, first one. So now when we put out the constraint, there are a couple of options that how we can do that. Now the easiest one is to click on this bottom icon and simply say, now first of all, I need to make sure that I run this app as it is. So when I run it on my iPhone 5 and it is about to get launched out there. And here it is. So you can see the one button is there. This is not entirely, it's poorly guided in fact, and there is a last button out there. So let me stop that. And one of the best way to do is, not the best way actually, is click on this icon and in the selected view or in the all views in view controller, you can add missing constraint. You can reset to suggested constraint or clear constraint. I would like to add the missing constraint. So notice everything is being done, but only for the button, not anything else. So I would like to clear it again, clear constraint. Now I would like to select my entire view. Now selecting here on the screen is kind of a mess. So I would like to again open this guy. I would like to select my view, the entire view. I'll click on this and I'll simply say that reset or simply add the missing constraint. So you can see now my constraints are being added, but tons of them are added. So you can see the constraint new block is being added and a lot of things are being added. I'll talk about what are the added ones, but right now let's just run this one. Again, this is not going to be the perfect one and we are expecting that. So if I open that up, now notice by luck, now I'm not saying that just by luck we have added all of them, but still some of them are missing that we can see we have done quite nicely our job. But this button is little bit higher, this is one is lower and same goes for this one as well. So quite interesting, but not yet done. So what could be the best way? I would like to clear my constraints and there we go. We got it again. Let me get rid of this guy. Now, what could be the best way to do so? Now, one of the best way to understand that this feature works how is make sure that you select your constraint which you want to place. And whenever we put on these constraints or layout guide, we need to make sure that we lay out according to reference of something. Maybe with the first view or maybe the top line or maybe the bottom line, the side edges, maybe with some another element. So let me do it for this one. I'll simply press Control and I would like this one to go with that. This is the line. So I want it to be constant from there. And there are a couple of options like there can be a leading space, there can be center vertically, there can be an equal height, width, height, aspect ratio. Now in this case, I want to choose leading space to container margin. Okay, good. But the orange line or the red one, in fact, that says that you are not good. But how can I do all these things again? I would like to get this guy back and notice in the scene there is a red button and this says that yes, you are missing something. If I drag it a bit, if I click on that, it says that add missing constraint. And what it says that your button needs a constant for Y position. You have added it onto the X level. Now make sure that you mention the X one as well. So what I can do again, I can press my control, I can select that, press control key and drag it onto the top as well. And I would select vertical spacing to top layout guide. This makes everything blue. Good. What does it say? Red means it's not good, blue means it is good. So let's try to do that with this guy also. Let me select that. Now this time I would not go for the extreme left. I would like to go for the right one. Okay, not done and done. Trailing space to container margin, select that again and this one. This is one of my favorite way to do for that. And okay, done. Now let's just save this and try to run that. And it's opening up and here is our guy. And notice, now buttons are although not very perfect, we are about to go with that, but this way is little bit a bit more good in that case. Okay, now what I would like to do is I would like to select this margin guide out there, and these are my constraint guides. Now I would like to go on this ruler looking like thing, and I would like to select that, and you can see this says what are the values of that. Like in this case I would like to select this, and there are a layout margins, trailing spaces, the horizontal compressions, the heighting parameters, and all of that. So whenever you need to have that, make sure that you look on this guide out here. And if I select this one, you can see it changes according to on that. So what are the horizontal spaces and what are the vertical spaces and all of that. But in case you don't like that, again, I can simply remove that. And one of the best way is to go out there, not there, there. I can go back here and I can simply delete them, or I can select them, which one is there, like the top one or the bottom one or whatever. Like I would like to select all of that. And here, this one, or simply this guy. Let me just select it. Okay, here it is. So I can simply delete, or one of the best way I like it is clear constraints. Okay. Now another way to do so, if I select this guy, I can open this square looking icon, and now I can add all the things. Like the top one is the 8. I would like to select this guy and also this guy and add 2 constraints. Okay, looks good. But notice you have to remember that this was the 8 and this was 0. Now select this guy. I would like to this time select that I want to fix this way, and I would like to select it onto 8 and fix that here as well and add 2 constraints. Okay, now it looks good. Let me select that and run that again. So I've shown you a couple of ways to do things from this pane, auto layout guides, auto constraints and all of that. And notice now my buttons looks good. Not very impressive, I agree with that, but this is how you do that. Now again, there are a couple of more ways. If I select this guy out there, there are a couple of ways how you can horizontally center the container or vertically center the container, and quite alike with that. So what we can add a missing constraints, or in fact you can do just reset to suggested constant for all the values with that. But I would not like to do that. Now let's come back to this guy. Now what you can do with this guy is you can simply hold your control key and you would like to make a constraint, let's say from the top. So you can do so that I would like to have a constraint from the top here, and this one, this makes a red obviously. And I would also like to make a constraint from, let's say, this button out there. Yes, we are allowed to do that. So we can have horizontal spacing, we can have vertical spacing, or maybe aligning it from the leading or trailing space and all of that. If I just let it go, it doesn't make anything out there. So if I can simply make it sure that it is out there and from there as well, and there it goes, all blue. Blue means everything is good. You are working very fine. So I'll save that and run that again. Again, this is not at all a tutorial about making sure that this looks perfect. This is not about that. This is to make sure that you understand what are the different ways of doing the things. And here it is. So we can see that this guy is good out there. Not everything is perfect, but this guy is looking good out there at our screen right now. We can shrink that a little bit and all of that. Okay, that is good, but we need to understand one more way. Again, make sure that you keep an eye for this ruler as well. Now, one more way to do so is open up our inspector element, get rid of this guy, and automatic, preview, and main storyboard. And this is one of the best way. Let's say we are having this guy out here. We can shrink it a little bit. And of course, we need to remove the constraint as well. So I'll make a Command Z on this one. I'll play around with this one. So you can see this guy is not labeling perfectly out there. So you can make sure that you place it accordingly. Now notice there's a live view for that, but there is a problem. Let me just address that. If I run this, and this is not the bug what which you can do a lot of things, like we have a portrait mode good. If I press my Command and arrow key, notice, now you haven't noticed what I wanted to notice. Notice the top bar, that is the battery bar. If I press this one, the battery bar really actually goes off. Now this is the new feature in the iOS 9 that says that whenever there is going to be a landscape mode, the battery bar will automatically go off. But this is in the real device as well as in the simulator. And if I stop it, notice here, if I orient it out there, the battery bar is not gone. Now I have no idea why Apple have overlooked this feature, but this is one of the bad things about working on this preview mode. But again, I would say go on and work with the live simulator. That's pretty good. So I would like you, all of you, to make sure that this looks good on an iPhone 5. And you can feel free to do so anything with that, but make sure that it looks good on the iPhone 5. And please post your screenshot with that. If you'll face any problem with that, I'll again make a movie to make sure that I do it manually myself.